Good morning, everyone. In here, out there, welcome to the Temple of the Living God here in St. Petersburg. How's everyone doing? Wonderful, wonderful. Happy month of July. I hope everyone had a safe and healthy 4th of July celebration, but our celebration is not over because, well, we're going to celebrate some 4th of July stuff today as well. And in fact, we're going to start with a song called Lift Every Voice and Sing. This is a song that was written back in the 1900s. It's also called the Negro National Anthem. It's a beautiful song. When I was pulling up lyrics for Star Spangled Banner, this one also popped up. Said, people also look for these, algorithms the way they are. But it's a great song. We're going to sing it for you to start this service off. So, Alex, take it away.
Please refer to your Sunday programs for any ongoing classes and events, and make sure you do sign up in the lobby if you plan on attending. This does conclude our announcements. Today, very special day, we have Reverend Zemke with us, and his topic is Freedom's Clarion Call. And I think that that's an inspiration for all of us to remember to use your freedom and call it out, spread it out. The theme for the month is, what does it mean to be free? So I've chosen an excerpt from an old Reader's Digest. I don't even know if the Reader's Digest is still around, but I kept some of the old ones. True freedom is the capacity for acting to one's true character, to be altogether oneself, to be self-determined and not subject to outside coercion, to be led by the dreams in your heart. Instead of worrying about what you cannot control, shift your energy to what you can create. Believe in yourself. because you are braver than you know and capable of more than you can imagine. So be free. And now we have the beautiful music of Carol and the Goodfellows.
Let's do this. This is an interesting song. It's a great song. It's called Freedom. The words are very powerful. And so listen to those while we sing for you. And do this doing something we've never done before. See if you can figure it out. Watch this. All right, let's do it. We build walls when we should be building bridges. We lose touch when we ought to be holding on. We hold back when we really could be giving. We hold out when we're holding on to nothing at all. Little frog does so much.
Thank you for the gorgeous music. Don't they do a wonderful job? I want to read to you today from the writings of and actual words of our wonderful leader. How many of you remember the late Martin Luther King? How many of you ever had a chance to hear him in person or on television? I'd like to read one of the speeches that he gave on August 28th, 1963, just an excerpt from it. When we let freedom ring, when we let it ring from every range, every state, and every city, we will be able to speed up the day when all of God's children, black and white, Jews and Gentiles, men and white men, and all other kinds of religious leaders, Protestants and Catholics, will join their hands together. Free at last, free at last, the words of an old Negro spiritual, again, free at last, free at last. Thank Almighty God, we are free at last. Unquote. A number of people asked me when they read the title of the month, what does the word Clarion mean? Well, it's an old world word, something similar to me. And I'm not an old word, but I do enjoy language. Clarion means, as a construct, to be in line with that which is deepest in you that you wish to express in the world. It's a viewpoint, can be a commitment, it can be a promise, it can be a yearning that's expressed in the world of flesh and form. But when it comes out of that deepest part of who we are, it comes out with a conviction that when other men, other women, other people hear it, feel it, are in touch with you, that voice communicates to you that they are sincere. They really mean what they're saying. Now, I'm not, for those of you that might have some alarm in your mind, I'm not going down the political path, okay? There are lots of people who do that and do it all the time. If you turn on the news in any way, manner, shape, or form, you get a digestion of news that can create indigestion. And I would encourage you to turn it off. It's not that you don't want to be informed. I believe that all of us should be informed. I want to be informed, and I do listen selectively to men and women who speak in a way that I feel I can respect. I do not like to hear people who speak from a place where they're pushing an agenda because they have an agenda to push. Now, aside from politics, and that's all I want to say about that at the moment, our clarion call for freedom is the soul's yearning to be free. To be free. Now say that again. I want to be free. Now, when you say that to yourself, or you say it out loud, what does that really mean to you? We live in one of the greatest nations on the earth at the present time, whether you think so or not. It's not perfect. It's an imperfect environment that we live in. I remember not long ago, maybe a month and a half ago, I was speaking to a good friend of mine, and I was commenting about the day, actually, the quality of the air, sunlight, and so on. And I said, it's just such a gorgeous day to be alive. And I felt vitalized by the air. And the observation was, well, it would be perfect if it wasn't humid. You know, there's a part of us that's always looking for something wrong, where it isn't perfect. Well, there isn't any kind of perfect form in the world of flesh and form. The world itself is what it is. Nature is what it is. If you've ever watched a show on television or you've read about it in other ways, and there are so many wonderful nature programs available now. Life in the world of nature is not cruel. It is what needs to happen the way it happens. One life gives its life to another in order to be sustained. Whether we like that or not, whether we agree with it or not, is irrelevant. It's our viewpoint. It is the way of life, and we either accept it or we reject it. In our world isn't perfect. We can't make it perfect. How many of you have tried to make your wife or your husband perfect? I don't want to see your hands. Thank you. One lady that came to me about 2 years ago said, I've been married for 30 years and I can't change my husband at all. And I looked at her, I said, have you changed? Well, I'm already good. I'm already good. I don't need a change. I said, well, maybe you need to stay with that idea and allow yourself to be seen, to show more of your good. Well, he is just so stubborn. So stubborn. What can you do about a stubborn man? I said, love him. Just love him. I said, he might love you back. I said, remember when you were much younger people? Well, he wasn't so stubborn then. He didn't show up at breakfast with uncombed hair and a dirty t-shirt. I said, is that it? Is that it, what you're looking at, the outer form of the man that you're married to? And you're looking at his lack of combed hair or a clean t-shirt at breakfast? Really? The clarion call of our spirit is the yearning that we have in ourselves to be free. Think about that. Think about that. When you want to be free, you know, one of the grants that we get in this nation, because we were created as a nation nearly 250 years ago, 1776, we all heard the history in the last couple of weeks, and we're familiar with the details of the men and the women who were responsible for helping to create the Bill of Rights that we all operate under in our world. We can gather here today in this church free. We are not having to be worried about some man, some woman, some group of people that's going to break through the building and shoot us because we are not in agreement with them. Now, does that happen in the world? Yes, we have prejudice, and we have groups of men, groups of women, groups of people who do not agree with each other. We don't live in a perfect world. We live in a human world, and our work is to be the best man, to be the best woman, to be the best person we can be. We always start with the men, with the women that are next to us, whether they're brothers or sisters or cousins or uncles or aunts or mothers or fathers or whatever the labels are that they carry. That person, that man, that woman is for us a model for allowing ourselves to stretch. I remember my father when I was a young boy, probably about 10, I would say. My father was a strict man, a very kind man, very firm. When he had something to say, he said it, and when it was done, it was done. He didn't keep repeating it. He would ask me periodically to help him with some of the chores on the farm that we grew up on. And I remember one time I was not in a good mood about chores, and especially doing something additional. And he said, I want you to clean a piece of machinery that we use on the field it will take you about 3 weeks or a month. And I remember standing there looking at him. I just looked at him. I didn't say anything, but I started to cry. And he didn't say anything. He just sat there. And I cried probably a good 5 minutes. Gave him all my reasons why I couldn't do it. And he said, after he said, "Are you finished crying?" "Yes, I think so." He said, "Well, the machine still needs to be cleaned, LeRoy. And I don't have time to do it, and you can do it at your own leisure." And I remember saying this to him. "It's going to be hard, Dad. That's a very difficult, intricate machine." He said, "Don't I know it? I've cleaned it many times. It's time for you to learn about it, because if you help me, I can do other things to make our life a little bit easier for us." At 10 years of age, I wasn't really interested in making life easier for the rest of the family. I was interested in what made me comfortable and not stretching into something I was unfamiliar with. However, the lesson served me well. I agreed to do it, of course, and it took the better part of a month. And after I got the machine really clean, it was a process, and I won't take time to go through that. He congratulated me, gave me a real big hug. He said, "Let's take a week or two off." And then he said, "I would like you to paint it." The work wasn't done. It had to be painted. And I said, "Well, can't you spray paint it?" Because I knew he had what was called a sprayer at that time. And he said, "No, it has to be done by hand because it's too intricate a machine." And I didn't appreciate that until I really got into the painting. Well, I did it. And that lesson has served me across the years of my 80 years on the planet. That has served me over and over. When we don't like something that we are asked to do, it's there for us to do, whether we like it or not. And freedom about our soul is about allowing ourselves to be the man we are or the woman we are, not because it's easy, but because it requires us to stretch into parts of ourselves that we haven't been able to see or be available to up until that moment. As responsible men, as responsible women, as we live in the world of flesh and form, we begin to recognize that we have a place in this world. We have a place that is unique to every man, every woman in the community in which we live. I've been in this church, as many of you know, a long time. I helped to create its founding. I'm proud of it, and you are part of that now. There will come a time when I will step off the planet. Don't worry, I'm not leaving tomorrow or next week. At least that's not what I've been informed in. And I don't know that I will be informed. I just think it'll happen when it happens, and I don't worry about it. But you are part of that, all of you here. All of you are part of this ministry. And you may think, well, I'm not a member. I don't have to be part of it. Yes, you are a part. You don't have to be a member. You're here. You are part of the environment that other men, other women have created for you, that we have created, our members, our people who have been here for many, many years. In the course of 80 years, I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, thousands of members. I stayed through all of that. All of the founding members are gone now, many years. Some of the most important men and women in my life have moved on. I'm the oldest in my family in many ways. Fortunately, still have a brother and a sister on the planet and a group of cousins. But family is not the blood men and women in your life. It's the men and women that you live with. The people in your apartment house or your neighborhood or the house you live in. And if you don't live in a house, maybe in the back seat of your car. And I'm not making fun of that. All of the men, all of the women, all of the children in our world are family. Have you thought about that? Yes. How many of us have thought about it? It means that we are required to be free, to be kind and loving and thoughtful to every person as much as we can. We are not required to like everyone, and many of us don't. This week, I spent about a half an hour listening to a dear, dear friend talk about someone she didn't like. But at one time, she loved this lady very, very much. But she and this lady had a parting of the ways over an issue that is, in my opinion, not so significant, but it was to her. And for 30 years, she has not spoken to this lady. And she said, I dream about her. I live about 2 miles away from her. I feel like I should go by to see her, but she hasn't made one single effort to reach out to me. I said, maybe it's your turn. No, it's not my turn. It's her turn. I said, don't get caught in this, whose turn it is. Be true to your own soul. Let go of the judgments we have around other people. Finally, I want to say today, in conclusion of this idea, which we're going to continue to examine through the month, your basic freedom is the idea that you hold about who you are. What your work is in the world. It's not what you do to make money. That may be part of it. What you do to make an income or what you do to carry influence in the community. All of those may be important to you. But it's who you are inside, who you think of yourself as being when no one is looking. How many of us are kind to ourselves at home when we make a mistake? When we forget something or don't do something we know to do and we know that it's important? How many times have we ever forgotten a debt that we owe to someone? I remember a very dear friend of mine and I were very close at one time, and this friend borrowed some money from me. And at that time, my money was, in my own thinking, a little bit restricted. And I was hoping for the repayment of that debt within a month, as had been promised. Well, a month went by, nothing happened. 2 months went by, 3 months went by, 4 months went by, 5 months went by, 6 months went by, half a year, and no mention of the money. Finally, I got word that this friend and family members moved out of state. And my mind went to, and there goes the money. Never to this day have I got the money, but I've been repaid many times in other ways. Maybe it was my work to be available to that person at that time to help and not be attached to the money itself. because I did not like the way I felt inside when I wasn't free. Because every time I looked at this friend, I thought, when are you going to pay? When are you going to pay? And I thought, I don't want this to be the mark of the friendship. Do you understand what I'm saying? If that's what you think, you're not free, because you're attached to the debt. Now, you may say, well, isn't it okay to expect your debt to be repaid? Of course. We live in a world where that is part of the way we negotiate with each other and the world. But enough on that illustration. You see my point. Finally, today, I want to quote from Abraham Heschel, from the writings of his book, The Insecurity of Freedom Paradigm. Quote, "It is dangerous to take human freedom for granted, to regard it as a prerogative rather than an obligation, as an ultimate fact rather than an ultimate goal. It is the beginning of wisdom to be amazed at the fact of our being freed inwardly and thus in the world of flesh and form. You and I are free, but we accept the extremes of the world and say, this is the world I live in. No, it's the world you accept that you live in. Go out today and hug a man, hug a woman, hug a child that you know or love or care about, and tell them, if you can, if you're going to see them, why you appreciate who they are and what they have meant to you in your life. And let go of any imperfection that he or she or they may have or have had, or a difficulty that you've exchanged. I remember a very dear friend, and I will close with this illustration. It was a very meaningful experience for me a long time ago. A man that I had known here in St. Petersburg, and his wife had been friends of the church. He never joined the church, but at a certain point, they left the community. Well, I found out that the reason that they left the community was that he found a new lady. And so the former lady, his wife, was left behind, and she was really uncomfortable with that role, and she didn't want to be seen among the people she had known. And finally someone brought her to the church. Another woman brought her to the church. And when I saw her, I exclaimed and was delighted to see her, and she stiffened up. And she said, "You still accept me?" I said, "Why? Why would I not accept you?" "Well, Ralph left me, and I'm not worthy anymore." And I said, "That's not my doing. You're still a wonderful woman." "Well, no other man seems to think so." I said, "Well, you haven't read the right man." And I said, "Let go of that." I said, "Ralph is no longer part of your life. You wouldn't believe how he treated me." And I just put my hand up and I said, "You know, I don't need to hear the story. You're here today. Let me say to you, I love you. I own the fact that I love and care for you. I am not in love with you, but I love who you are." She said, "It's the first time anybody said anything kind to me since he left." You don't know who the man is or the woman is that you're sitting or next to that's important to you, because everybody has their own story about themselves. And if you're not free in yourself, you cannot be free in the world in which you and I live. God bless. Thank you. And now I'm going to ask our gorgeous singers to come forward with Freedom. Freedom. I guess we're going to hear a lot about freedom, aren't we? Thank you for coming forward with your music.
And before we have our wonderful music, we're going to have our collection. And so we ask you to take your tithes and your gifts in your hands and bless them as the ushers come forth. Infinite source of life, we give thanks for this opportunity to join together and to give of our hearts. And we acknowledge that divine love moving through each of us blesses and multiplies all that we have, all that we give, and all that we receive. And so it is. Amen. Okay. And now, Carol, Daniel, and Alex.
Well, we're going to close our service today with the Star Spangled Banner, as I brought up earlier. So, as the ushers get finished, I would like to ask everyone to stand. And if you guys know the words, please feel free to sing along with us. But you know what we do when we sing this song. Got a flag over there. Got a flag right here.
The what?
All right. Shall we? Let's do it. So yeah, check it out to the lobby, enjoy some used books at half the price. And let us get ready to set up the potluck. You'll be called in when it's time to say our pre-potluck prayer and join in the festivities. So